Good morning, YouTube fam. How is everybody doing? I wanted to do this live video because this is something that it's a question that somebody had asked recently. So if you're new to me on YouTube, on this channel, I talk about tips, strategies, and resources that you can use to make a living on writing online. I love writing. I've been writing freelance writing since the beginning of 2017. I've been writing for way longer than that, but freelance writing for pay since January 2017. It's been a lucrative source of income for myself and for my family. And currently, I work from home full time as a writer and also a little bit as a social media manager. Once in a while, I have a client come through that's a social media person or needs social media, and I help them with that. And today I wanted to come on live and talk about can you really make a living online writing? Can you really make a full-time living online writing? I had this question as a question right here on YouTube a few weeks ago, and I thought that for my Thursday live chats, that is something that I would talk about. Hey Aggie on Instagram. And so today I'm talking about, can you really make a full-time income writing online? Can you really make a full-time income writing online? And for those on YouTube, if you're not already subscribed, make sure you do subscribe, because I will be doing this every Thursday. I started last week doing these live videos. And on Instagram, if you don't follow me, make sure you follow me, because I will be doing these Thursday lives on Thursday mornings between 8 and my goal is to hit 8 a.m. But today my phone wasn't charged, and so I had to charge it. Anyway, you don't care about that. You care about whether you can really make a full-time income with your writing online. The answer to that question is yes, you can. Now, of course, that's the short answer to the question. And we could just say yes and end of story. Bye-bye. See ya. Hasta la vista, but the truth is that there's way more to it than meets the eye. And that's what I wanted to talk about. I can answer yes in the comments on here on YouTube, but I really want to give you an in-depth answer. All right. So the answer is yes, but it won't happen immediately. That's the very first thing. It won't happen immediately. And also, my definition of full-time may be different from your definition of full-time. Perhaps where you live, making $2,000 per month is enough for you to live like a king, right? It's enough for you to pay your rent, buy your food, pay your bills, and do all the things that you need to do as an adult, as a responsible member of society, right? However, if you live in somewhere like California, I live in San Diego, California, $2,000 a month doesn't necessarily cut it, right? That may be just your rent alone. So the first thing you want to do when you start thinking, oh, can I make a full-time living writing online, is you need to determine for yourself, okay? You need to be able to determine for yourself, what is a full-time income for me? What is a full-time income for me? And the way that you do that is I want you to think about your rent. I want you to think about how much you generally spend on food. I want you to think about how much you might possibly spend on, gas for your car. I want you to think about how much you may spend for, the bills, the electric, water, your internet, phone, how much you spend on that. And this may require that you sit down, you get an Excel spreadsheet and you fill it out, or you sit down with a good old pen and paper and write everything down. All right. So write, how much are you paying for rent? How much are your bills going to be? How much is food for you a month? How much is, gas for you a month? And then once you've written that down, you want to calculate it. Now, of course, if you want to make a full-time income where you are not depending on a job for your income, then you also have to think about health insurance. For those of us that live in the US, you may live in another part of the world too, but you may have to think about private health insurance as well. All right. And so this is insurance that is you're going to have to be paying out of pocket, and it's not cheap. So you want to determine, if it's just you, okay, how much is it for just you? If you have a family, all right, you have a spouse, you have children, you want to calculate how much it's going to cost, not just for you, but for your spouse and kids as well. So that's all important to factor into how much is going to be full-time income for you. So perhaps you've done that whole calculation and you realize that very, very generally, perhaps $4,000 or $5,000 is going to be reasonable. It's going to be a reasonable income for you because perhaps your health insurance is $1,000. All the bills around your house come up to $300. Your rent is $1,000, and then some other things. So you figure that $4,000 will be just enough for you and your family to survive on. Then you also have to think about, you don't want to just make just enough for the month, but sometimes also build a buffer into the whole thing, right? So maybe you want to build a $200 buffer, a $500 buffer in case, to save and to put away, because sometimes emergencies do crop up. And so to have that emergency cushion. So once you've done all that and you've come up with your number, a really, really good way to calculate how much you're going to do. The next thing you can do is to calculate how much am I going to need to make every single day in order to reach this goal. So we have, generally we have about 30 days in a month, right? Every month is different, but we have about 30 days in a single month. So now if you have $5,000 as your number. So pick your number. That's the very, very first thing, is you're going to have to pick your number. Now, once you have picked your number, then you divide it by the number of days in a month. So let's take a general number, which is 30. And so 5,000 divided by 30. So 5,000 divided by 30, that comes up to somewhere around 160 or so per day. So that means that you have to meet 160. Am I correct? I think I'm doing my math right? Because 150 times 30 would give us 4,500, right? So it's about $160 per day. So now $160 per day. Now you have to think, okay, every single day of the month. And mind you, that means that you're working on Saturdays and Sundays. Right. So if you want to take out Saturdays and Sundays, then really you're left with just about 22 days, because that's, four Sundays and 4 Saturdays. Then you're left with 22 days. So then now your number is 5,000 divided by 22, which is a little bit of a bigger number. All right. So maybe that is around 250 per day. So now the number went up. So you have to determine whether you're going to be working all the days of the month, or you're going to be working, minus Sundays or minus Saturdays, and then divide that by the number. Once you get that number, that is the number I want you to work towards. That's the number I want you to begin to aim for, because then you'll be able to meet that goal and be able to pay all the bills and do all the things that you want to be able to do in order to survive, in order that you're not on the streets, in order that, you don't become homeless. So this is super, super important. Now, this is where, so now that you've determined what the numbers are, now the next thing is we have to start getting clients, right? We have to start getting people that will pay us. And so the price you give to your clients is going to be dependent on the income goal that you've set for yourself, right? So when you start quoting clients, you don't want to you see, I understand underquoting myself, because even as a writer, sometimes I really underprice myself. And I've had a lot of people tell me, Gertrude, like, you can charge this much. And I'm like, yeah, I know, sometimes I love doing things for people. So sometimes I just end up doing them. But I had to come to a place where I realized, listen, your bills also have to be paid. So you have to charge what you have to charge. And if people cannot pay that amount, then it's okay, because you don't want to break your back to do work for people and not have them pay you respectably for what you're doing. And then when you do that, you set a precedent. And basically, when these people refer you, because this happened to me. So one time I was really undercharging somebody for some work, right? And I was just doing it. And then they were going to refer somebody to me, and they quoted that low price to somebody else. And so now that person came with that expectation that they're going to pay that low price. And I was like, no, that price was just so, I had to start telling people, okay, when I give you a price, it's important that we keep it between the two of us. Yes. So, or if you want people to start referring other people to you, then give them the right price so that when people come in, they're paying you what you deserve. So that was the lesson that I learned, that if you undercharge, you set a precedent, and people are just going to regard you as that particular price for the longest time. And it becomes difficult because when they start referring other people to you and start telling other people, oh, you can just hire Gertrude, she's not even going to charge you much, that becomes a problem, because maybe I want to raise my prices, but now I can't because hi yeah, because there's this thing. So that's what you want to be able to do. So for those of you on Instagram, let me reintroduce the topic I'm talking about again. Hey, my name is Gertrude Nontra. I do a lot of things, but on this particular Instagram channel, I talk about writing for a living. And today I'm talking about can you really make a living, a full-time living with your writing? So I'm kind of going through the steps that allow you to be able to make a full-time living with your writing. So that's what I'm talking about today. And that's what I'm talking about too on YouTube. Hey, good to see you. And so I talked about the fact that you need to pick your number. So when I say full-time living for me here in California may be different for you if you live in Asia, or if you live in Africa, or even if you live in the Midwestern United States. Completely different standard of living, right? So for you, maybe $2,000 or $3,000 is going to cut it. And then for me living here in California, it's not going to cut it because my rent alone could be $2,000. All right. So you have to pick a number. That's number one. Number two, you have to think about the number of days in a month and then divide that number by the number of days you want to work in a month. So perhaps you want to work, all the 30 days in a month, which I don't advise because you do need a day or two off in a week. And so you have 22 days. So divide that number by 22 days or 23 days. The number that you get is your daily goal. And then once you get your daily goal, now you're supposed to be working towards $200 per month or $150, well, $200 per day or $150 per day. Now, the next thing is that when you start charging your clients, you need to keep that in mind, that I want to be able to charge so that I get to that dollar amount per day. And then that means that you can't undercharge yourself. And I know this happened. I just was talking about how this happens with me, where I once was doing work for somebody and I was undercharging them. And then they started, they were really happy with my work because I was delivering quality work for a really cheap price, which I shouldn't have been doing. And so later on, this person was referring me to other people. And because I had underpriced myself, this person was quoting the low price to other people. But at this point, I realized the quality I was delivering, and I no longer wanted to charge that lower rate. But it became difficult because people were beginning to know me as the girl that delivers this quality work for this cheap. So don't do that to yourself. Don't set that precedent for yourself, okay? So that's the first thing. So you want to think about it. And I can't tell you how much to charge because that's the other question that people ask is, Gertrude, how much should I charge for writing ABCD? And I've seen this even in other communities I'm a part of. And the truth is that it's up to you. However, I'll give you a guideline. I think that it is fair for you to charge per word. I don't think... Yes, some people also correlate higher prices to higher quality. This is true, Aggie. So that's the other thing, right? So I love that comment, Aggie, that some people do correlate higher price with higher quality. And so what you're also doing by undercharging yourself is you are driving away quality clients. This is so true, because some people will only pay... I kid you not. Some people will only pay the expensive price. They hate to pay the lower prices. So when you tell them a low price, they're like, what? Like that, you must not be that good. But if you charge them the right price, like, wow, like, if you're charging this much, you must be really good, And there are clients out there like that. They're not so easy to find, but there are clients out there like that. So you also don't want to drive those clients away by undercharging, because then people are going to be like, I don't think she delivers quality work. So, why bother? So don't undercharge. Now, I was saying, I was giving you a guideline, right? So I don't think you should charge people per hour. Okay. People have asked me, Gertrude, what's your hourly rate? And I usually tell people I typically don't charge per hour. You know why? Because when I write, there's a lot that goes into writing, right? There's a phase of the writing process where I have to do my research, where I have to go to all these websites. I'm a researcher by profession, right? That's what my training is. I'm a research scientist. So I really know. So that what that means is that I'm really, 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 really good at going online and searching for things. Okay. And searching for things. And so I'm all up in PubMed. I'm all up, on different government websites trying to get reliable information. And when I write something, when I quote something in the things that I write, I try to find original articles, original research articles where that particular thing was quoted. And if I can't find a source, I try not to add it into my piece because I do not want to put wrong information out there in the piece of content that I create. That's how much I value my work. I don't want to misquote things. I don't want to just make up conjectures with the things that I write. So it takes a lot for me to research. And then after I'm done researching, I gather my thoughts and I write the piece. So now that's a really intense process. And mind you, I have education behind me that really is, credibility for what I do. So now if I tell people my rate is $50 an hour, and I've done all this research. I also have to pay taxes, by the way. That's a whole conversation. I have to also pay taxes as an entrepreneur. I have to pay tax, or freelancer. I have to pay my own taxes. When people pay me, everything doesn't go into my pocket. There is some of it that is also earmarked for taxes. So now if I'm charging $50 per hour, and let's say, I'm going to pay about 20 or 30% of that in taxes, both to the federal and state government, then that means that I'm basically charging them $25 or $30 an hour, which at my level, that is way less than I should be getting. All right. Once again, this is all in context to where you live. Okay. So just keep that in mind. It's all in context. Where I live, things are super expensive. So I have to make sure that I'm charging correctly, or else I will shoot myself in the foot. So I always tell people, no, I don't charge hourly. What I do is I charge per word. And so per word, you can I usually will do, for the really low end, I'll be like things that are super easy, I'll do like 10 cents per word, which means that if I write a thousand word piece, that's maybe $100 or $150. So between 10 and 15 cents, right? So so that would be between 100 and 150 for 1,000 word piece. And even I still think that that's a little low. But another thing I will say about low, getting, a mix of low and high paid is that you also don't want to. There's also this section of the market that is willing to pay you, but maybe they cannot pay you the super premium prices. It's really complicated, but you can have a mix of both, but don't super undercharge yourself and undercharge people. So then for something that is higher than that, I'm going to be doing 20 to maybe 35 cents per word. So this person will pay me $200 to $300 or $350 for that 1,000 word piece. And I think that that's a great rate. So so in this case, it depends on how many words I write and not necessarily how many hours I put into the work. And I know how many hours it will take me to write a 1,000 word piece. I know how many hours it will take me to write a 500 word piece. So then even when I calculate the hourly rate, then it's much, much higher than $50 per hour. And I get satisfied with that. So you want to be able to charge a reasonable rate that is commensurate with your education, that is commensurate with where you live, the income goal you're trying to reach, the taxes that you have to pay, the things that you have to take care of. So that is what I have to say about making, that's my answer to the question. Can you really make a full-time income writing online? The answer is yes. The short answer is yes. The long answer is that you need to be strategic about it. And that is the strategy I just laid out, is you really need to be strategic about it. Think about how much it's going to cost you to live. Think about how much you have to pay in taxes. Think about how much work you're going to have to put into the work. Because eventually, let's go back to even talking about the undercharging thing. If you continue to undercharge, eventually you'll begin to resent your work. You'll begin to, because you didn't get into this. Like I always remind myself, I didn't become a freelancer. I didn't get into this so that I could do back-breaking work. I did this so that I could have some freedom. So if now it becomes a second job where I'm frustrated all the time, then it's not worth it. So that's my little spiel. I hope that that was helpful. Are there, yeah, are there any questions? Let me know. Let me know. I'm always happy to answer questions. And if there are not any questions, then I'll probably end the live stream. So those of you that are on YouTube watching this on the replay, make sure that if you have questions, leave them in the comments below. I'm more than happy to answer. Those of you on Instagram, you can DM me, whatever. You can leave questions here. I'm more than happy to answer. So I'll wait just about 30 seconds. Da, na, 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 na. Na 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 da 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 da. Okay, all right, guys. So this was fun. Let me know once again if you have any questions. After this, let me know in the DMs. I'm more than happy to answer. All right, take care and have a wonderful day.